Look, I keep seeing, I want to call them douchebags, but they're not all douchebags. Some of them are just really misguided. But I see a lot of people on social media who are fans of weed stocks, who have weed stocks that they want to maybe offload, who are telling anyone who'll listen, now is the moment where you must invest in weed because it's inevitable. In the US, they're about to pass safe banking legislation, which would be better for weed companies. It would allow them to finally uplist. It would allow them to bank their millions of dollars. Blah, 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 blah. It's going to happen anytime now. Cory Booker said it was going to happen. Chuck Schumer said it's a priority. This person over here waved some butt around in front of the Congress. It's never going to happen. It's never happened to this date, and it's never going to happen going forward. Now, you might ask, well, if it's never going to happen, why do these people keep talking about it? Why do the companies keep making sounds like they're waiting for it? I'll tell you why. Because in the cannabis space, it is always and has always been not a case of what do you make, but what story do you tell? Take it from me, I was one of those guys that told those stories up until 2018. Right at the high point. I timed the high point to within 4 days of the historic industry highs. It has been 95% down since then. Now, I committed harikuri with my company, man. I stuck the sword in myself because I had a company that was making millions talking about cannabis investments. But to continue talking about them and telling people that they were good would have meant by now you'd never have heard of me. I'd have been forgotten about. I'd have been out of the business because I would have been reliably losing people their money. Since I didn't do that, since I said enough with the cannabis business, I'm switching to other things. A lot of people laughing at me saying, you're going to miss all these highs. It's going to be $1 billion industry, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know who was right? This guy. 95% down from those highs, minimum. Almost every company on the market. And yet, every 3 months, we get the same bullshit. Guys saying, US MSOs are going to be great because they're going to pass safe banking. 2019, they're going to pass safe banking. It's inevitable. 2020, here comes the banking changes. 2021, there's going to be a new Doc Brandon. He loves cannabis. 2022, we're nearly at the end. They're still saying it. Listen, in order to get any bill through the US Senate, it isn't a case of just being popular. Those were the old days. Those were the days when the filibuster meant you actually had to stand and refuse to cede the floor and not take on any food or drink, not go for a pee break. Talk until you couldn't talk. Read the phone book. That was a filibuster. And it was used when one individual would say, I disagree so much with this legislation, I'm going to refuse to let it come to a vote. I will stand here until I die. Great political theater. Fantastic stuff. But also a thing of the past. Today, in order to put a filibuster through, you have to just be basically like, I filibuster. Thanks. I'm just going to go to the toilet now. That's all you need to do. And when you call a filibuster, you don't even have to do a filibuster. You just got to call a filibuster. That means the vote goes from 51 votes needed to pass. It goes to 60 votes, which means nothing gets passed. Nothing. Voting rights, not passed. Funding for the Ukraine in a war against Russia, not passed. Like, you don't get anything through unless both sides see value in it. And even then, it's not just value. It's not just this would be a good thing. It's, I also want $100 million for this and $300 million for that. In order to pass any bill right now, there are billions of dollars that have to be spent supplementally just to get the votes necessary to beat the filibuster. It is the stupidest, non-democratic system in what is supposed to be the greatest democracy in the world. It doesn't work. If you wanted to pass a bill that said it would be illegal to set babies on fire and shoot them out of a cannon into the side of Kim Kardashian's head, I think we'd all agree that that's a bill that we'd like passed. I don't want to see flaming babies shot into Kim Kardashian's cranium. It doesn't seem like that's a positive outlook for me. I think we should say, let's make that not legal. But you couldn't do that today in today's Senate in the US because it ain't how it works. You would need to make sure that at least one dickhead doesn't say, before we pass this, how much money is in it for Arkansas? Can we just get to the business of governing, please? Because if you did that, you'd have people who are in jail for cannabis crimes. You'd have them out You'd have every state would have its own cannabis program. There'd be money flooding in like there is in states that currently allow cannabis. And you'd have entire industries that would spring up around it that would be better for everybody, medically, recreationally, and everything else. But we don't have that. And we're not going to get that. We're not going to get it in Canada because too many hand wringers. And we're not going to get it in the US because a two-party system that is built upon not allowing the other side to get any wins. There's another reason why it's never going to come to pass, and that is it's a wedge issue. What is a wedge issue? Well, for 40 years, the Republicans used abortion as a wedge issue. If you vote for us, we're going to overturn Roe v. Wade and there'll be no more abortions. And every anti-abortion person got out of their lazy boy, out of the trailer, out of the church, and said, here's my vote for the Republicans because babies. And the Democrats, whenever they did get to power, it was despite that. Well, for Democrats, the wedge issue now is cannabis. Hey, if you want cannabis legalized, you better vote for us because the other guys are against it. The moment it is legalized, the Democrats don't have that anymore. They know this, so they're in no hurry to legalize things. If they legalize things, then what are they going to run on? It's just obvious. So the people who say to you, it's coming, they're going to pass it any day now, they are lying to you. They may not realize they're lying to you. They may have drunk the Kool-Aid. They may just be really enthusiastic about weed, aren't we all? But if they're telling you buy shares in cannabis companies because it's coming, you are being snowed, man. They are doing what the cannabis company executives did in 2015, 2016. They're telling you a story that you want to hear, so you will buy a stock that they are currently trying to sell. Don't fall for it. Please have your wits about you. By all means, I'd love cannabis to be legalized. I'd love shrooms to be legalized. Fuck, shrooms are great. But it's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen in the near future. You've got to make sense when you're trying to make dollars.